When I was in high school, I had two close friends, Jason and Brian. The three of us were inseparable. We spent most weekends together, wandering around town, hanging out, or just killing time however we could. Toward the end of our senior year, Jason's father received a job transfer, and his family moved to Lexington, South Carolina. It was tough saying goodbye, but Jason promised we'd stay in touch. A few months after graduation, Brian and I were invited to visit Jason for a weekend at his new house. We were excited. It felt like a small reunion, a chance to relive old times. On the second day of our visit, boredom got the better of us. Jason suggested we go hiking in the nearby woods and countryside. The area was beautiful, rolling greenery, thick forest, and eventually a scenic river that cut through the land. It was peaceful in a way that made you forget time existed. That peace didn't last. As we wandered deeper into the woods, we slowly realized we had no idea where we were. We'd been following the river for so long that we lost track of which direction was upstream or downstream. The forest had grown unnervingly quiet. No cars, no distant voices, no signs of civilization. Panic crept in. None of us had cell service, and we knew Jason's parents would be worried if we didn't return before dark. We decided our best option was to keep following the river and hope it led us somewhere with a telephone. That's when we saw it. Set back from the river was an old church-like building made of faded red bricks. A dirt road led up to it, and a dirt parking lot sat in front, half swallowed by overgrown bushes and weeds. The building looked abandoned, except for the sound. We heard gospel music, singing, relief washed over us. People meant safety. People meant help. In the parking lot were four old cars, all white, or at least they used to be. They looked like models from the 1970s or 80s, maybe old Novas. All were rusted, filthy, and sitting side by side with flat or missing tires. None of them looked like they'd moved in decades. Still, we didn't think much of it. We were lost, tired, and just wanted a phone. We walked up to the doors and stepped inside. The moment we entered, the music stopped. An old woman with white hair sat at a piano near the front. She wore horn-rimmed glasses and stared at us without expression. Slowly, every single person in the church stopped singing. Song sheets lowered. Heads turned. One by one, about 24 people stared at us in complete silence. Their faces were empty, emotionless. No curiosity. No confusion. No confusion. Just cold, vacant glares. Jason spoke up, his voice shaking slightly. "Sorry to interrupt," he said. "We're lost. We just need to use your phone to call my parents." No one responded. The silence became unbearable. You could hear the wooden pews creak as people shifted their weight, still staring. That's when we noticed something else. There were no crosses, no religious symbols, nothing Christian at all. A deep sense of dread settled in our stomachs. Without another word, we slowly backed out of the church, closed the doors behind us, and turned away. None of us spoke. We didn't need to, yes? As we walked up the dirt road, Brian whispered, "Did you notice there was nothing religious in there?" We turned around. Standing outside the church were about a dozen men. They hadn't been there before. They stood in a line watching us intently. That was enough. We ran. We sprinted up that dirt road for what felt like forever. Our lungs burning, hearts pounding, fear pushing us forward. After nearly half an hour, we came upon an old, broken-down gas station. It looked ancient, like something from another era. Inside, the shelves were mostly empty and coated in dust. Behind the counter stood an older man with deeply tanned skin, wearing a filthy baseball cap. He was reading a book with yellowed, ragged pages. He looked up at us and smiled. "You boys lost?" he asked calmly. We nodded. He gave us directions, simple, specific. Turn back the way you came. Left at the telephone pole. Follow the trail to the highway. We thanked him and left quickly. As we walked away, something made us turn around. The man stood outside the gas station now, arms crossed, staring at us with a grin that revealed a rotten tooth. We didn't stop until we reached the highway. Eventually, a police officer pulled over and gave us a ride back to Jason's house. When we told him where we'd been, he whistled. "You boys were way out there," he said. "You need to be careful. There are some crazy witch folks in those woods. To this day, I still don't know what we stumbled into, but I know we were not welcome." Story 2. The Ouija board about 8 years ago, when I was 19, two friends, James and Sean, and I made one of the dumbest decisions of our lives. We lived in New Jersey. in a town filled with abandoned houses and forgotten places. At the top of a hill not far from our home stood an old abandoned church. Locals knew about it. The road leading to it was closed off, and the building had been deserted for years. Naturally, we decided to bring a Ouija board there. It was October, spooky season logic. Sean had the board, so I picked up James, then Sean, and we drove toward the blocked-off road. We parked and walked the rest of the way, using one flashlight at first, trying not to draw attention. The church was surrounded by woods in every direction. The front door was already ajar, scraped and warped from years of decay. Inside, the place was littered with graffiti and debris. Sean placed the Ouija board on the floor and set 3 candles around it in a triangle. When we turned off our flashlights, the candlelight barely illuminated 6 feet in any direction. We began asking questions. At first, the planchette moved, and we laughed. We all assumed one of us was messing around. Then we heard it, a loud crack from the altar. It sounded like a thick piece of wood snapping in half. We all jumped and shined our lights, but nothing was there. We continued, uneasy now. Suddenly, another sound came from the altar. Before we could react, something hit the board. A rock, about the size of a golf ball. There was no way any of us could have thrown it. We ran. We left everything behind and sprinted back to the car. The next day, Sean returned to retrieve his board. It was gone. The candles were still there. That place still haunts me. Story 3. The daytime cult. This happened in Warren County, Georgia, a deeply rural part of the state. I was driving with my girlfriend, Marissa, scouting areas where we might want to live. We're both Roman Catholic, and Marissa especially enjoys attending church. We passed a small, charming church on a quiet road. Full of older cars. Oh, maybe there's a mass going on, she said. We went inside. Everyone stared. There were no women, no priest. A masked man stood at the front and pointed at us. Who invited you? He asked. We left immediately. Someone followed us. We drove straight to the sheriff's office. We never went back. Story 4. The man from church. I was 8 years old when this happened. At mass, an older man stood near the wall, making strange faces at me. He wouldn't stop staring. He wouldn't stop staring. Days later, during a Cub Scout meeting at the same church, I found myself alone in a narrow hallway. The same man appeared. He grabbed my hand, said he had treats. I screamed. He let go. Later, we learned he worked for the church, and that allegations had been made against him. I still think about what might have happened if I hadn't screamed. These experiences stay with you. They don't fade. They wait quietly in the back of your mind, and sometimes they come back.